I never thought hosting my police academy trainees for a weekend workshop would turn into a neighborhood scandal. That Saturday morning, the sun was barely stretching over the rooftops when the first batch of recruits arrived. They were young, eager, and respectful, all in plain clothes, just here for extra hands, on training before graduation. I had spent 2 decades in law enforcement before retiring, and volunteering to mentor them was my way of giving back. My house had a wide yard and a big garage where I set up drills and scenarios. Everything was quiet until the familiar sound of high heels clicking down the pavement broke the calm, a sound I'd come to dread. Karen, the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, clipboard in hand and that permanent frown carved deep enough to scare the sunshine away. She stood on the sidewalk, eyes darting from one trainee to another like a hawk circling prey. "Excuse me," she called out sharply, her voice cutting through the air. "Are you having some kind of party? Because it looks like half the town's here." I took a slow breath, forcing a polite smile as I walked over. "Morning, Karen. These aren't guests. They're my students. We're running a small training workshop." She blinked at me, unimpressed. "Training? What kind of training? This is a residential area, not a boot camp." Her tone dripped with mock authority, and a few recruits shifted awkwardly behind me. I tried to explain, but she interrupted again, snapping her gum loudly. "You're violating the HOA occupancy rule. Too many people. It's a disturbance." Inside, my patience started to stretch thin. I'd seen this behavior before, people who mistook control for respect. I looked around. The recruits were already unloading cones and first aid kits, doing nothing wrong. "They'll be gone by the evening," I said calmly. "We're just going over first response drills." Karen squinted at me, her eyes narrowing as if she could sniff out guilt that wasn't there. "I'll be keeping an eye on you," she said coldly, jotting something onto her clipboard. I didn't respond. I'd learned long ago that engaging with someone like her was like arguing with a thunderstorm. You'd only get soaked in the end. She stalked off, heels clicking faster now, muttering about violations and noise ordinances. The morning went on. We began the drills, tactical scenarios, de-escalation roleplays, CPR, the kind of stuff that saved lives. I could see how serious the recruits were, how hungry they were to learn. It reminded me of my early days in uniform. Around noon we broke for lunch and I grilled some burgers out back. Laughter and chatter filled the air, but I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us. From the corner of my eye, I spotted her again, Karen, peeking through her blinds like a sniper in suburbia. I almost laughed at the absurdity, but a small chill crawled up my spine. She wasn't done. Not by a long shot. By evening, when the last recruit had packed up, I thought the worst was over. But as I locked my gate, a knock thundered against my door. It was Karen again, red-faced, clipboard clutched like a sword. "I've reported you," she announced. "Multiple guests, noise, possible commercial activity. You'll be fined." I stared at her, tired but controlled. "You reported me for teaching future police officers." Her lips twisted into a smirk. "That's what you say. For all I know, this is some kind of unauthorized event. Don't think you're above HOA law just because you wear a badge." I chuckled softly. "Karen, I don't wear a badge anymore. But maybe you should be careful who you're accusing." Her smile faltered for just a moment before she spun on her heel and stormed off. I didn't realize then that she was about to start a war I never wanted. The next morning, I woke up to 3 emails and 2 voicemail messages from the HOA board. Urgent, possible violation of HOA policy, hosting unauthorized event. My stomach dropped. Karen had actually filed a complaint. I could almost hear her smug tone echoing in my head as I scrolled through her report. Suspicious activity observed. Numerous visitors, loud drills, potential safety hazard. She even attached pictures, blurry shots of my driveway filled with cars. She made it look like I was running a secret business. My blood simmered. I decided to pay the HOA office a visit before things spiraled. When I walked in, the room fell silent. The manager, a young guy named David, looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Lawson, we did get some reports," he began carefully. "We just need to verify." I cut him off. "Verify? You mean whether I'm guilty of hosting a training session for police academy students?" I placed a folder on the table. Inside were permission letters, official academy correspondence, even my volunteer authorization. His eyes widened. "Karen didn't mention that," he muttered. "Of course she didn't." I said. "She saw what she wanted to see." He nodded slowly, but I could tell his hands were tied. "I'll present this to the board, sir. But until then, technically, there's a pending fine. When I got home, Karen was already waiting outside, arms crossed, lips pursed. Going to try and sweet. Talk your way out of this. She sneered. I stopped on the sidewalk, my shadow stretching across her perfectly trimmed lawn. No, Karen, I went to clarify things with facts, something you might try one day. Her face twitched. Facts? The fact is, you broke the rules. I took a slow step closer. Do you even know who those people were yesterday? She shrugged dramatically. Guests, freeloaders, doesn't matter. I stared at her for a long moment before saying quietly, they're police academy cadets, your future officers, the ones who will protect this neighborhood when trouble comes. Her expression faltered, just for a second. Well, she stammered, that's not what it looked like. I could see the cracks forming in her confidence, but she doubled down, raising her voice. You still had too many people, you broke the guest limit. Neighbors were starting to gather, curtains twitched, doors opened. Karen, you might want to stop shouting. I warned softly, you're making quite a scene. But she didn't. You think you can intimidate me with your cop buddies? She yelled. Well, this is a community and we follow rules. Her voice echoed down the street. I could feel my pulse thudding in my neck, but I kept my calm. You're right. I said quietly, we follow rules, but we also respect those who serve. Maybe that's something you forgot. She stomped away, fuming. I turned toward the street and saw some neighbors shaking their heads. One of them, Mrs. Delgado, whispered, Don't let her get to you, honey. Everyone knows how she is. I smiled weakly and went back inside, but my peace was gone. By evening, Karen had escalated again. This time, she called the police. I was in my backyard, tidying up, when flashing red and blue lights reflected off my fence. My heart sank. The irony wasn't lost on me. The police, arriving to question a retired officer because a nosy neighbor couldn't mind her own business. 2 officers stepped out, polite but cautious. Sir, we got a report about potential unauthorized gatherings and noise, one said. I nodded and handed over my documents. I know, it's all been cleared by the academy, here's proof. They skimmed the papers, then looked at each other and back at me. You're a former lieutenant. I nodded. The taller one smirked. Guess we're wasting our time. They thanked me and left without even knocking on Karen's door. But as they pulled away, I saw her face through the blinds again, pale, furious, unblinking. And I knew she wasn't finished yet. The following week, letters started appearing in my mailbox, anonymous complaints, all typed, all signed, concerned neighbors. But the tone was too familiar. Phrases like constant traffic and unapproved activity, Karen's vocabulary through and through. I stacked them on my counter, each one a little more desperate than the last. I could have ignored them, but something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to let a power-hungry busybody rewrite my life. So I did what I was trained to do, gather evidence. Over the next few days, I installed a camera facing my driveway and one toward the street. It didn't take long to catch her in the act. One night, just past midnight, there she was sneaking around my yard, taking pictures with her phone like some undercover agent gone rogue. The next morning, I walked right up to her house. She opened the door, pretending to be surprised. Oh, it's you again, she said sweetly. I held up my phone, playing the footage. You want to explain why you were trespassing on my property at midnight? Her face drained of color. I wasn't trespassing. I was just documenting potential violations, she stammered. At midnight, I asked quietly with a flashlight. She froze, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Karen, what you did is illegal, I said firmly. You stepped onto private property without consent. That's trespassing. She started to back away. You can't prove. Oh, I can. I interrupted, tapping the phone again, and I already forwarded it to the HOA board and to the precinct. Her jaw dropped. You wouldn't, she hissed. Oh, I would, I replied. You messed with the wrong person this time. Suddenly, her whole posture deflated, the arrogance melted away, replaced by panic. Please, she said quietly, don't file a report. I didn't mean to. Her voice trembled. For a moment, I saw something real, fear, maybe even regret, but I'd spent too long being patient. You humiliated me in front of my students, I said. You called the police on me, spread lies, and broke the law. You need to face the consequences. She started to cry softly, but I turned and walked away. That evening, I got a call from David at the HOA. Mr. Lawson, we reviewed the footage. Karen's actions were a serious violation. She's been suspended from the HOA board pending investigation. I thanked him, but my voice was calm. I didn't feel victory, just relief. The next morning, for the first time in weeks, my yard was quiet. The blinds next door stayed shut. My recruits returned one last time to thank me for their training. As they lined up in formation, I felt something tighten in my chest pride. They saluted me and I nodded back, smiling faintly. Across the fence, I thought I saw a curtain move just slightly. Maybe she was watching. Maybe she wasn't. But I knew one thing for sure: she'd think twice before crossing me again.